Boys, I have a riddle for you.
Okay.
If there's a Queensland derby and nobody's there to see it, did it really happen?
Oh.
Oh, look at you go, mate. Just keep firing shots at Brizzy, mate.
No, I'm not actually firing shots. I watched the game. It was actually quite a good game. It's probably the best Q clash I've ever had. Definitely the closest one. 5 points the difference, and almost just about decided by a fairly dodgy umpiring decision. But we won't go into that. But it was a pretty unlucky loss from Brisbane.
Yeah, it was. It was annoying to see an umpiring decision influence the game like that. I mean, you never know what would have happened anyway, but I guess it happens. Brisbane just got to take that, and they maybe could have won it in other parts of the game anyway.
Yeah. They I felt like they definitely had the better of the Gold Coast for the last quarter and a half, but just lacked a bit of polish. Couldn't really get the job done in the end.
Yeah.
But I thought like some of the young kids stood up, Jared Berry in particular, and McCluggage, and I guess Rayner had a bit of an impact.
Yeah.
They all probably played some of their best games for the club.
Yeah.
And for the first time in a while, I'm starting to feel a little bit more confident about Brisbane. I think things were starting to look pretty bleak. Since we did our last podcast, they scored their lowest ever score against Richmond, 2 goals 5 at the G, and I just don't know how many fans can still watch with the same enthusiasm year after year, and it. I don't know, I can see why they'd start to lose faith after their last game against Richmond, but
Still, the game before that, they nearly beat Port.
They did, yeah.
In Adelaide.
That's true. That would have been a pretty awesome win, but as it stands, they're still 0-5, and I don't know where the first win's going to come from. It'll happen, and it'll be some crazy upset.
West Coast.
Well, I don't think we play them until round 23. I could be wrong, but I don't know if we play them until round 23.
That'll be a battle of the midfields, that one. See whose midfield comes out better.
Yeah.
Another game that was decided by a bad umpiring call.
3-man on the Bulldogs, yeah.
Yeah.
I was going to say, Bulldogs absolutely wrong.
I think I've slated Jake Carlisle openly in this podcast, but that had to be a free kick to him. Oh, majorly.
Really?
You're against it.
I was completely the opposite. I thought it was... I can't see how there is a free
I
kick.
can't
What do you reckon,
believe that.
chopping the arms or something?
He just smashed into his back and didn't touch the ball.
Maybe I need to watch it again.
And it was 3 seconds after the marking contest.
Really? Because Jake Carlisle, straight after the game, they said, "Do you think you should have got a free?" And he's like, "Oh, what? No."
But what's he supposed to say?
I think... Oh, no, I'm just saying he looked pretty surprised. I don't know. That's not the way I saw it at all.
Yeah, but Jake, he also said that it was pretty slippery, and he should have taken the mark first up.
Yeah, he should have.
But free kick every day of the week and twice on Sunday. Yep.
Maybe I need to watch it again, but
Ooh,
I thought the exact opposite.
Okay.
But anyway, that was an awesome game. St Kilda and the Giants. That was brilliant. St Kilda are another team where you could just about write them off for the season with the way they're going. I don't think anyone expected them quite as bad as they have been.
I thought they'd be better.
Yeah, I think the talent is greater than what they've shown, to be honest.
Yeah.
This is not coming together.
People are sort of saying them in Melbourne, but neither of them.
Yeah.
Speaking of Melbourne, they haven't done that as well as they should have either. But Saints in particular really haven't done as well as they should have.
Yeah, no, that's true.
They seem like they're in that position that Richmond was in a few years ago, where they're push so many teams and they just lose.
I mean, they've had some pretty bad performances.
Yeah, I think that's just them playing bad, though. I think they are better than that. But they don't have many game winners in the side. I think that hurts them a little bit at times. They should have won that game on the weekend. They had lots of opportunities, yeah. But there's got to be some doubts over the Giants as well, I think.
The
they
Saints
haven't played
outworked them
very convincingly this year at all, the Giants.
You could say that about a bunch of teams, though, to be honest, couldn't you?
But they're a premiership fancy.
No, yeah, sorry, I'm thinking the premiership fancies. If you look at the Swans and Adelaide, everyone's had a game where you're just a bit like, whoa.
Yeah, but I think Adelaide have also had superstar moments. Richmond have had superstar moments, and I haven't seen that yet from GWS.
No, that's true. I guess they bullied the Dogs in round 1, and then lost to Sydney. Yeah, they lost to Sydney. So, yeah, you're right. I mean, they're still sitting second, I think.
Just beat Freo. Well, when I say just, they beat us by about, I think, 3 goals, but Freo was up for a lot of the game. That was at their home ground. I'm not really convinced by them actually at all.
No, that's true. I think the Saints outworked them quite a lot. I thought, from a Saints perspective, I'm not going to lie, I was going for the Saints because I sort of have a bit of a soft spot for them, but their intent and their appetite for the contest was really impressive.
Yeah.
What got them done in the end, I think, was just the lack of polish. Their ball use was pretty horrific. Every time they won a sort of a free, had a bit of a fast break or something, they wouldn't be able to hit a target. Unlike the best teams who seem to happen to be able to hit players up under immense pressure, they couldn't quite get it done. And it's a missed opportunity for them, but considering where they are at the moment, you'd have to say that's like not a bad result for them. They would have taken the 2 points at the start of the game and run.
Yep.
You'd think. But I think it raises an interesting topic. I was listening to, or rather I was reading about Brad Johnson and I can't remember who it was. I want to say Terry Wallace, but I could easily be wrong on that. Having a good conversation about like how long is too long for a club to rebuild. It seems like these days you get in these clubs just perennially rebuilding, and the traditional way of going all the way to the bottom of the ladder, stocking up draft picks, it's just taking so long for teams, and it really hurts their off-field stuff as well. Like you obviously, for instance, a North Melbourne wouldn't want to spend all that time down the bottom of the ladder because they're already not getting that many people to games.
Yeah.
It's just interesting trend, and you see like teams like Geelong, Hawthorn, Sydney, West Coast now trying to bypass the whole rebuild altogether.
I think I actually saw on game day they were talking about this. Had Daisy Pearce on the panel, and she brought up a good point. It was in context to the Freo game, and she said a number of teams are doing the rebuild right because they've still got experience that can pull them through. So she used Freo as an example against the Dogs. So we have so many debut players, but we've still also got the Sandilands, Mundy, the Fife that can just like pull you through when those new guys are sort of battling a little bit.
Yeah.
Whereas I think at the moment we're seeing like Carlton, they're just stacked with youth. They're really missing experience. So when those new guys are battling a little bit, they haven't got anything to pull them through that, and they're just getting belted.
Yeah, that's a good point, because like with Carlton, you look at their older guys, only got like Cade Simpson, Mark Murphy really is like the elder statesman of the team.
Yeah.
Like, compare that to a Freo, it's probably got like 5 or 6 guys that have got enough games under their belt to do it. Like adding to your list, even like guys like Walters, some of those other guys that have played probably close to 100 games that are pretty good players, have that experience to lean on.
Yeah.
Pat Cripps has had to shoulder a massive responsibility in terms of leadership already. I know he's a brilliant player, but he's also a young guy, and it's interesting how it's impressive how well he leads them for such a young guy. But I guess the Saints, they lost Montagna and Rewalt, I think, just mostly this recent season, so maybe they're lacking a bit of on-field direction. I'm not sure what's going on there. Hopefully it comes together. I think they've got some really good young prospects. We've talked about it before, but the guys they've drafted in the last 3 or 4 drafts are really good, so I think it's only a matter of time. But I wonder if Richardson's going to last long enough to see it all come together.
I still think it's on a knife's edge. I think it could go either way for Saints.
Yeah, he's one I could see get. I don't necessarily saying I want to see him get the can, but I could see him getting the can. Like, it's just one of those ones that sometimes a coach just ends up in a bad situation, and he's probably going to cop the axe, and then the next coach will get all the glory.
Yeah.
Hopefully Damien Hardwick has sort of maybe convinced a lot of people in the AFL to stick by coaches for a bit longer.
That's true.
Because, I mean, it's not... Personally, I like to see coaches given a good amount of time to have a real crack and develop their own list, rather than a lot of coaches in all sorts of professional sports are given like 2 or 3 years. They take over someone else's playing list, and then they just can't quite get it to work, and the turnover is massive on coaches.
It is, yeah. You see, in the Premier League, what was it? Claudio Ranieri won the Premier League with Leicester at 5,000 to 1 odds, and then lasted half a season the next year. Yeah, and I don't think they were even doing too bad. They were like 13th out of 20, which is pretty much above what they were before. Anyway.
Yeah, so. Well, I think like a club like Real Madrid, I think has maybe had like 11 managers in the last 11 seasons.
Valencia, I know, is really bad in Spain.
Yeah, they are. They had Gary Neville for like 2 or 3 months.
Yeah.
Yeah, they did too. That's see, I don't like that model at all. I sort of agree with what you're saying. I'm trying to ignore the dog barking in the background. Hey mate.
He'll say he'll keep going, don't you?
Yeah.
Just keep going.
Just keep going. Just power through it. You're right. You need time to instill a culture. You need, especially like when you're developing a specific game plan as well. You're developing players with this game plan. I know that Simpson at West Coast has come through and drafted players that he really sort of identifies traits that are suitable for his game plan.
Yeah.
Particularly decision making and skills, he's really big on.
Yeah.
So if he left, we'd have to have a whole new game plan where we'd have to all these players that aren't suited to it.
Yeah.
That's the risk with it, isn't it? With moving coaches, but I think the Saints in particular are probably one team that needs to start profiting from like the whole free agency and I guess trading game as well, because I think they've been in the market for a few big guys. I think Gaff and Sloan out of contract this year as well.
We know they went hard for Fife.
Yes, that's true. I was trying to think of who they went for.
Yeah.
They seem to have been like in the market for quite a few players, but never been like quite a big enough destination club to actually land them.
Yeah.
But I think adding a Sloan or Gaff next year would be pretty huge for them.
Yeah.
But free agency is an interesting thing. I was reading another thing about how the whole idea of free agency is that it's sort of supposed to foster equalisation. So lower teams could sign free agents of bigger clubs without having to give that much up. And it also gives the players a chance to go to the club they want to.
But it's done the opposite.
It's done the opposite. So that you're seeing teams in the top four sign players at struggling clubs who are battling and can't win a premiership. They'll join a Hawthorn or they'll join a Geelong or something like that. I think somebody suggested it before, maybe it was Worsfold, said that maybe you could have like some sort of limit on top 4 to 6 teams engaging in free agency. I think that would be pretty handy, stopping someone like Hawthorn just building a juggernaut just through being a destination. Being an MCG club is huge.
Yeah.
I think that's a huge advantage.
Yeah.
Signing bigger name Victoria club players, that's a huge plus for them.
Yeah. No, it's not quite fair. They do need a free agency system because it's good for the players. Gives the players a bit more freedom, especially when their contract's up to have a say over their own future. But yeah, it does need to be a little bit more regulated because, like you said, at the moment, Hawks and Geelong are really benefiting from it. That it's allowing those two clubs to sort of stay up there.
People would be signing with Geelong more for the talent perspective, though, than the location and benefits. Cause,
well, they're a big club. They're a successful club.
But still, Geelong's Melbourne's version of Bunbury.
True, but they also produce a lot of good footballers.
Yeah. If you had a chance to go and play with Ablett Dangerfield and Joel Selwood...
That's what I'm saying. It's talent that's causing people to go to Geelong, not the location and perks. Because you said, like, the MCG-based clubs.
That's what I guess I was just generalising.
Yeah.
Hawks and, I guess, Richmond now would probably be...
Even Collingwood, because they've got some guys
that's
like
true.
Treloar.
Collingwood always has pulling power, despite the fact that they've been pretty average for a while now.
Yeah.
Like Treloar chose them over Richmond because he thought he had a better list, which was absolute tripe. Taylor Adams as well selected them. I think they've had no trouble luring players over. James Aish wasn't Victorian. He's like, I'll go play for Collingwood. So I think it's a good example. Yeah. Speaking of Collingwood, by the time this podcast comes out, they probably would have played an Anzac Day already, but they haven't yet.
Yeah.
So their most recent game was when they absolutely thumped Adelaide. That was unbelievable. I don't think anyone would have picked that except Mark Robinson, who said he accidentally tipped Collingwood by 50 points. Must have pressed the wrong button or something, and they won by 48. So that's pretty ridiculous. But that was an unbelievable game, and it's one that really makes you think, like, are the people who are like pro Buckley and pro Collingwood and saying that they have a lot of talent, are they maybe onto something? Because I've been sort of ignoring them for a while, but you can't ignore that victory.
Yeah. Oh. Yeah, I don't know. It's too early to tell.
I've never been able to ignore the talent on that team, even though over the past few years they've had talent. But if you look at that midfield, it's as pretty much as good as any midfield in the AFL. Brodie Grundy's probably a top 2 or 3 ruckman in the league.
Yeah.
Treloar, Adams, Buddy Pendlebury.
Grundy's just about the new Dean Cox, I think. He's unbelievable. He's pretty young too. Like, what did we say he was? I think he's
23 or 24.
24 this year. I don't know if he's turned it yet. But he's born in 94. He had 33 possessions, 42 hit-outs against Adelaide, a number of clearances as well. He's and
that's against Sauce Jacobs, who's not some 19-year-old kid
ruckman.
Down,
isn't he, Sam Jacobs? I don't know. He wouldn't feel good about getting pummeled like that against Sidebottom had another 43 possessions to go with his probably 3 Brownlow votes the week before against Carlton. They're just getting a bit out of everyone at the moment. Stevenson comes in, kicks 5 goals. I thought it was pretty brave by Terry Wallace right before that game. I don't know if you guys remember, he came out and said Collingwood will make the 8 and Geelong won't. And this is before they belted Adelaide, so he's looking pretty good right now.
That makes up for the 100 bullshit things he said.
It's pretty left field, but he timed that well. But yeah, really interesting test for them against Essendon this week.
They're 2 pretty teams in similar sort of categories, you'd sort of say, like in terms of where they're at, what their talent's like. Both
equally inconsistent.
Yep, exactly. Consistency.
Both seem to play above themselves some weeks and way below themselves the next.
So who are we going to tip? I want a tip for the Anzac Day medal from you boys.
On the medal.
So Busher, who are you going to select?
I'm going to stick with my man Steele Sidebottom, who's on my draft dream team, and he's going to keep the good times rolling, I say.
Okay. Fair call.
I'm tempted to say Grundy, but I'm actually going to go with a boring one and say Pendlebury.
Okay.
Balance the probabilities, he's bound to have a BOG week.
Yeah. I think I'm probably leaning towards Essendon slightly to win.
Okay. I think Collingwood will win personally, but...
Yep.
Yeah, I tipped Collingwood also.
I think for Collingwood for Essendon to win, Danaher would have to have a big game, so I'll choose him.
Yeah. He really hasn't had the season most for Billingham up for, and he's not really to blame for that because he can put a lot of expectation on a guy, and just because he doesn't succeed straight away, it doesn't mean he's a flop or anything like that. I'm not saying that, but I think everyone was expecting him to have the season that Ben Brown's having, and Ben Brown has just been absolutely phenomenal this year, and he does not look like he'd be a talented footballer, does he, Ben Brown?
No, but he is.
Quite a likeable dude as well, I got to say.
Yeah.
Probably just because he's got a rough.
What do you like about him?
I don't know. He just seems like a good dude.
Good looking.
Yeah. He's got that real Tasmanian jawline.
Yeah. You felt a few of them, haven't you?
Oh, baby.
That's. I don't know what that means.
But yeah, Ben Brown, I'm a fan. He's on my draft dream team as well.
What's going on with North Melbourne?
I don't know.
Yeah, nobody's given them a chance, and suddenly all their fans have come out of the woodwork already.
All 10 of them.
Saying, I knew this would happen. I had faith, and it's really hard.
After we just smashed Collingwood and North Melbourne all pre-season, they've really made us eat our words.
Yeah, they have a bit. Well, I mean, it's early days, like you said earlier.
I mean, this is probably the amount of wins I thought North would have for the whole season, to be honest.
Yeah, I thought they were going to be terrible.
Yeah.
I still don't rate their list, even though they're playing way better than their list.
They're getting a lot out of... they've got a really good defence at the moment, and they have the best percentage in the league. They've got arguably the best key forward in the game right now, just on current form. And... Yeah, Higgins is playing well. The senior players are playing well. Waite's contributing. Yeah. Zeeble and Cunnington are toiling away. They've finally got some young players you can see playing in the next premiership. You know what I mean? Like LDU, I know he's not necessarily lighting the world on fire. Simpkin's a good player. I think they get a lot of out of Kane Turner. And they've just drafted well recently, like I've said before. Yep. And suddenly you could think, they're not in such a dire state. I think they might be able to be another club who doesn't necessarily win like 4 games a year and rebuild that way. They might be able to rebuild on the fly. They
could be that team that gets a lot of like picks 5 to like 8 and does well with them.
Yeah. Reboot. I think it's an ideal environment for developing young talent is to be in a team that's winning. And it's hard to pull that off. It's hard to get both. It's hard to be like a premiership contender and play like 18-year-olds a lot. But if you can get a team that's pushing finals, which they may be, it's early days, and still getting games into kids, that might be that sweet spot.
I think that they've got one of the most underrated players in the comp in Jared Waite. as a key position forward. He's never talked about. He doesn't kick huge bags, but
every now and again he does.
The contest, the aggressiveness he brings to every contest is massive, and having Jared Waite down there also has freed up Ben Brown heaps. I mean, that's a pretty good two-pronged tall forward right there in Ben Brown and Jared Waite.
It is, yeah.
Waite's had a couple of monster Dream Team games, I know that.
Yeah.
He had like a 148 or something.
Yeah.
Which means he's getting the ball up the field, taking grabs.
Yeah. Both of those guys really good players. So
Thompson and Tarrant at the back is shoring it up as well.
Plus, they said on the weekend that Tarrant had one of the best performances for a key back this year so far.
How old is Tarrant? Does anyone know? Or
actually not too sure. I would say mid to late 20s.
Yeah, because I was say
he's been around a little while, but he's not like vet, I don't think.
Because say if he was in that lower half of the 20s, he could be an up and coming top 2 or 3 key back maybe.
No,
but if he's a bit older, he's
20s, I'd guess
if he's older,
He's definitely
like
if he's older, he's peaked. Then fair enough.
Yes, yeah. Well,
he's probably peak right now.
Yeah, in his prime.
Good times. Yeah.
Surprised I've had anything nice to say about North Melbourne, but I've said too nice.
Credit's where it's due. I was going to say they are phenomenal at Blundstone Arena down at Hobart.
Yeah,
I reckon they're going to be a very tough team to beat there. They've got a good record there. From memory, they beat us there in 2015 when we made the grand final. They smashed Adelaide there by 10 goals. We're 10 goals up at quarter time to nothing. And then obviously smashed Carlton the other week by 90 points when, as I said, a lot of people consider them pretty even with Carlton. And they've got 2 more games this year. They've got the Giants and West Coast both at Blundstone, and I think they're probably going to win both if I had to guess right now, because they're just so hard to beat there. Imagine if they manage to secure 4 to 5 games there a year, they put themselves in a good spot for finals.
Yeah.
Sort of like having 11 games at Subi or whatever, like 5 games at Blundstone.
The AFL's probably going to encourage them to get games as well, because they probably half want to put a team in Tassie there, but it's just not viable at the moment.
Yeah.
So they figured pump them up with North and Hawthorn games.
It'll certainly get them 4 points, I think. Because I think they can negotiate the breeze so well. It's absolutely blustery down there in Hobart, but they always seem to handle it a lot better than touring teams. So, One guy I wanted to talk about is Daniel Menzel. I think he's quite a forgotten player because he just gets injured all the time.
Yeah,
but he's
had a good patch of health the past couple of years.
Yeah, he has.
After his 6 or 5 or however many ACLs he's done.
Yeah, he's having a good year. He's averaging like 3.5 goals a game, I think, from the 5 games so far.
Yeah,
but it's interesting. I noticed Scott. It's not that interesting, but it's just mildly interesting. Scott said that he is definitely not a long-term contract candidate. So I think he's on the 1-year deals continually. Old Menzel.
Yeah, I mean, everyone knows how talented he is. He's a real X-factor sort of player. A lot of injuries and finally getting it together. I think Chris Scott said last week that he could have been on the Dangerfield level in his opinion if it wasn't for all the injuries and stuff, which is a big call.
That is a very big call.
Has he had that much time as midfielder? I guess he's a bit injured, but...
Not really.
And he's not going to get that time as a midfielder
more
now.
More of a half forward.
Strikes me more as a Steve Johnson than a Dangerfield.
Yeah, I'd give him a bit of Steve.
Yeah, you'd give him a bit of Steve, would you, mate?
Yeah, mate, I'd call him a bit of Steve.
So, yeah, that was quite... I mean, very talented player, so hopefully he can stay fit, and he'd be a really handy one for Geelong to have in the forward pocket.
Speaking of ACLs, I saw on the news today, Australia is like the leading country in the world for ACL injuries, which is really quite
maybe
curious.
Says something about sports science at the moment.
Yeah, I don't even know. Apparently the old men between like 40 plus men are the most prone to it or something like that. Well, I think we've had a 70% increase this year in ACLs.
This year?
Yeah, all the last 12 months. Not I'm not talking AFL, I'm talking countrywide.
All sports, yeah.
Yeah. All sports, non-sport, everything.
That is weird.
But I was seeing something interesting. Apparently, Australia doesn't really adopt what they call neuromuscular techniques, and they basically they say you can actually prevent ACLs by doing this sort of neuromuscular training, but Australia doesn't really adopt it. So I wonder if that's something that sports scientists should be adopting.
Something I've always thought, especially in the last few years, that could be contributing is the amount of time a lot of guys spend in the gym now, especially working on upper body, so they're stacking on a lot of weight, on their upper body, and I think this could be some AFL players. They're really pretty much as muscular as they've ever been. And I wonder if maybe the knees can't cope with this increased weight.
Is that what causes an ACL though?
It can do.
Okay.
Yeah. I mean, if you've got all this pressure, if you're twisting on your knee, you've got more pressure.
Yeah, I suppose that makes sense.
Then,
heavier.
Yeah, exactly. There must be some reason if it's increasing.
Yeah.
Interestingly, some of our Australian sports scientists are revered, international, like NBA guys. Australian sports scientists are revered.
Yeah,
even EPL.
Same as Premier League.
Yeah, like Burgess at Port Adelaide. He used to be at a big EPL club.
He's at Liverpool.
Oh, he's at Liverpool, yeah.
Yeah, he was for a bit, yeah.
I wonder why that is.
Because, I think we pump the most money into our sports science programs.
That makes sense. But you think there'd be a market for it in England and America where they have these sports already?
Yeah, you would. I mean, they say that Australia has the best sporting facilities, so the best training facilities for athletes in the world. That's why we can compete at something like the Olympics when we have our population is like a quarter of the size of so many of the other countries.
That's true.
Yeah.
Yeah, fair point. Okay, on that note, we're going to have to take our mid-podcast break because the camera is about to time out. So. I reckon there's just about 6 teams you could almost write off at this early stage. I think we're down to about 12
From
teams.
finals?
Yeah.
Yeah, okay.
So there's seasons... No, I guess you can't say season over. I think season over is contextual. You can only say season's over for a team when they can't achieve their goals.
They're just not going to make the finals.
They're just not going to make the finals, yeah. So for Brisbane and Carlton and St Kilda...
So that's 3?
Those are the 3. Yeah, I was just going to say, it depends... Well, yeah, no, you said St Kilda can't achieve their goals. They probably would have aimed for finals this year.
Saints for a final, Smokey. They've definitely blown it.
Brisbane and Carlton were probably just going to be going for the development, you'd think, this year. You wouldn't think...
I liked both teams, but they weren't making finals.
So give us your other 3.
A clear
Bulldogs?
2 at the moment. I think you can start...
Bulldogs are
Bulldogs at the moment, yeah. Gold Coast. Yeah. Oh, that's actually a big call. The fans probably won't like that because...
I'm with you on that one.
It's just, I know that the thing is they're 3 and 2. It's a bit early to run off a team.
I think even if they don't make finals, they've got to be happy with how they're going. If they can really build this year, I reckon they could be primed for a good attack on finals for next year, I reckon.
To their credit, their only 2 losses were over here in WA.
Exactly, they've only lost to the Perth teams.
Against the current top of the ladder and Freo, who could go either way.
Yeah, that's true. I think it's an interesting comparison between the Queensland clubs at where they're at. I think the Gold Coast are definitely playing better at the moment, even though you could argue Brisbane have the better mature players. Do you know what I mean? Like, he's part of that. The Gold Coast. I guess Gold Coast have Lynch, but Brisbane have Beams and
Zorko.
Yeah. I think Gold Coast have extreme talent. If you look at guys like Ainsworth, Martin, and
Aaron Hall.
Yeah. Whether or not, I mean, he's pretty established.
Yeah. Well, he's having a terrible year this year. I think he was dropped, maybe. Either that or rested on the weekend. So
yeah, that's true. But I think Brisbane are in a good spot comparatively because I think a lot of their elite talent is in the midfield and key positions.
Yeah,
you know what I mean?
I still think Brisbane do have some talent, and I've got a bit of faith that they'll come good in maybe in a little while from now, though.
Yeah.
See, I'm just not sure I see it because it's not that I don't think that they have the kids or that they'll come good. It's just that I'm worried that after 3 years of development, they're not going to pack the shits and leave.
Yeah.
Or, they just won't improve. And I don't know, look for another club. I'm just not convinced by that.
I think the worst of their retention days are over, like the days where they lost Redden.
You'd hope so. They got home 5, they called it.
Yeah.
Redden. Redden was different. Doherty, Longer, Pollock.
Shaki.
Yeah, this is a different year. They lost 5 in 1 year, I'm pretty sure. Okay. It doesn't matter. But I think you'd hope so.
Yeah.
I don't think they'll miss Shaki that much. I think they'll probably get pick 1 as well this year and get Jack Lukosius. So, we'll see. But anyway, tangent. The other team, we'll see how Anzac Day goes. But if Essendon lose that, I think they're on the cusp.
What if Collingwood lose? Then they'll be equal on Essendon for games 1.
They will. I just think I rated Collingwood a little bit higher.
Okay.
So, yeah, I'm not... Okay, I'll change that. It's 4 teams I would definitely write off.
Yeah.
Carlton, Brisbane, St Kilda, the Bulldogs, my bottom 4 this year.
Yep.
Gold Coast and Essendon are on the cusp for me.
Okay.
Actually. I think Collingwood have a better chance than both of those other 2 clubs.
Fremantle?
I'd say well and truly in the finals race.
Okay.
3-2 at the moment. We'll see how the Derby goes. They might, if they win that, they're 4-2. It's pretty hard to...
Pretty good fixture so far.
Yeah.
We've got the best. I think that everyone said if we make the finals, it's because we've had a really good fixture this year. Like even all year, we're gonna have a pretty good run of it.
They finished bottom 6, and if you finish bottom 6, you're in the easiest pool of fixtures. So, yeah, got a good run there. Plus an extra home game helps. You probably would have won at Metricon anyway. Maybe the Gold Coast aren't that bad, but I think it's still well and truly open for those 12 teams that we didn't mention. Melbourne, we touched on it before a bit, but I think they're looking pretty unconvincing. I think we've said it actually every episode since the season started, to be fair. Yeah. I think they failed an important test against Hawthorn.
I mean, they didn't... Did they get belted that game? Yeah, they did.
Big time, about 10 goals. And there were 4 goals in front, I think.
Yeah, I mean, it's early days. If Max Gawn had to kick that goal in round 1... it could have gone completely the opposite way, I feel like, for Melbourne so far. I think they got a lot of talent on their list, and it's a long season, so I still think they're a chance, but definitely for the back end of the 8, not for nothing better.
That's true. I think a lot of people had to reassess and sort of get their... I mean, they could have a run in the second half of the year because they're a maturing team. You know what I mean? Like, you can see sometimes young teams get their roll on in the second half of the year.
I think everyone got a little bit carried away maybe after the AFLX. Yeah. Because they were a real hype team for about a week and a half there.
There's no doubt that they have some good young players.
Yeah.
Absolutely no doubt. Yeah.
But only time will tell.
I think they failed a couple of important tests. You have to say they failed the test against Geelong. They failed the test against Hawthorn, and we'll see how they go against Melbourne again. We're going to look silly if they belt Richmond tomorrow night. Yeah. And because this will come out after the game. So.
How was the Bulldogs' first half of the season? They won the flag. Out of curiosity, what I can't recall, but
it was good from memory. They finished 15 wins, 7 losses, which is never ever. That's normally you'll get top 4. Never has a team.
So they're like 6th, weren't they, or 7th?
7th.
Yeah, okay,
yeah. But never has a team come 7th and been 15-7. So they actually did have a good home and away season. They had a very bad end to the year. Fremantle beat them, if you remember, at the end of 2016.
Last team to beat them before they won the flag, mate. We're the real premiers in 2016, mate.
And the first team to beat them after they won the flag.
We're the real premiers in 2016.
Yeah.
That's the way I looks at it. And yes, I am the admin of the Freo Dockers page. No, I'm not. I wish I was that guy. That guy is my hero. I love that guy. Shout out to him if he somehow watches the podcast.
We should get him as a guest on the podcast. I think he'd be awesome. Probably doesn't want to break his persona.
He can come in his morph suit. He has a purple morph suit.
Does he actually?
Yeah.
Yeah, all right, boys. There's not too much left to say on this podcast, I don't think. We can have a quick look to next week.
Should we have a look at the Derby? Sure. So we'll get some early calls on the Derby. I mean...
I don't want to make calls. I actually think any outcome is possible.
No,
it's pretty open.
I don't want you to fence it, mate. I need an opinion from both of you and a best on ground, seeing as there's no Ross Glendenning. Okay. So, Bush, I'll start with you to give Jesse some time.
Ooh, okay. I'll probably go Freo, I guess, but I'm going to admit straight up that that's purely biased. I do admit that the game will go away, but I'm going to go Freo with me heart rather than maybe me head.
Okay.
Even though I still would almost go us with my head as well, but in terms of best on ground...
Ooh. Have you ever tipped West Coast to beat Fremantle? Ever?
Again, when we've been ridiculously shit.
Even then, I'd be surprised if you did, to be honest.
I'd tip you guys, but then I always give us a sniff. It's a derby. I always give any team a sniff. Even if we were like bottom of the ladder, you guys were top, I'd still give us a sniff.
Yeah.
Like, even though realistically
disgusting.
I'd tip the Eagles and expect the Eagles to win, but I would still have like a bit of a... Because it's the derby.
That's true, yeah.
There's that derby X factor, so it's... But I'm going to say Freo, I think the youngies sort of click a bit and who are we going to go for the formerly known as Ross Glendenning in this scenario?
Yeah,
I could go the easy Fife pick, I guess, but...
I think Fife has been a little bit underwhelming this year. I know he was brilliant against the Dogs, but...
And the week before he had 38.
He had 15 clearances the week before.
He did. Yeah. I'll clarify what I mean by that. He's beat up on the easy team so far. I think to get back to the standing of where he was. I'm not really trying to like rag on him. It's just an observation. He hasn't really done that against a good team for a while.
Mm.
And if he does it against West Coast, I still wouldn't really classify that as doing that against a good team. I'd love to see him do it against a top 4 team. Again, I'm not ragging on him. He's obviously a brilliant player. I'm not saying like he's a flat track bully, but I think what was it, round 1 against Port? He was pretty.
He was
average.
a little underwhelming in that game.
Yeah,
You know what I mean? So I think he's an important player for you guys. If you're going to push for finals, I think he's going to lift. As funny as that sounds.
But he was probably our best against GWS in a losing side.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, I guess he just doesn't have the same.
I think
impact.
he'd probably be best in close to 4 of our games now.
Yeah.
Yeah. So, I think you're full of crap. Nah. I know where you're coming from. Being a biased Eagles fan, I can see that one. No. Yeah, I'm going to go for Freo with my heart. I think Eagles slightly are favourites, but
on the books they are.
I think this is a pretty even derby. I mean, it's a Dockers home game, I believe, which could help us a little bit. I'll tip Freo but in an upset, and I'll tip the flat track bully to. I think Fife will have a good game purely because I don't think there's any Eagles mid maybe that could contain him right now. So, yeah.
I think Yo's done a pretty good defensive job on him in the past. But the problem with using Yo on him is that when Yo's like tags a player, he does nothing himself.
Yeah. I think it will kind of help Fremantle as well in the perspective that JK has absolutely smashed Hamling the last few years, and now that Alex Pearce is back.
That's true.
That will help big time. That'll help Hamling big time. Also, I think I read in the paper they're tipping Johnson to come back. Interestingly, I thought he was omitted, but they went from the perspective that he was rested.
Yeah, I heard rested.
Yeah.
Okay.
I'm going to say one thing in.
I did see that actually. Yeah, sorry.
One thing in the Eagles' favour, and I never thought these words would come out of my mouth. Matt Taberner is actually a potentially big loss. I've always ragged on the bloke. Like, everyone knows how much I've ragged on that bloke over the years. But in the first 4 or 5 games of the season, he's actually showed something. Like, I've been pretty impressed. And it's taken me a lot to admit that because I've just absolutely bagged the shit out of the bloke.
Yeah.
I've affectionately referred to him as Turdiner for years.
I think he's important for your structure as much as anything. I don't think a one-man key forward set up with McCarthy who...
He's a number 2.
He's not a big goal scorer either. I think he averages 1 goal a game for his career. And I'm not saying he's not a good player. I just don't think he's like the main avenue to goal.
That's what I mean. He's not a number 1 key forward option.
I think almost certainly Kirsten will be back in the side.
Yeah, that's true. That's another observation. But I think what will happen is both teams will just flood their own backlines, force the opposition to go long to a contest, and it'll just be a low-scoring glut.
I think for Freo to win, we'd have to smash your midfield. Like, if it's equal on inside 50s, Eagles will win.
Yeah,
so
for sure.
if for Freo to win, we need to pretty much dominate your midfield.
That's true, yeah, which is possible. I think this year, having Lysette and Nick Nat to counter Sandy will be good. We know that Nick Nat doesn't necessarily play that well against Sandy. I think 10 centimetres he gives up is a big factor in that.
Yeah.
Sandy's probably quite a bit... I wouldn't say he's probably not that much stronger.
He's a lot bigger.
He is. He's a monster. And I think without a Nick Nat advantage, it'll nullify our mids quite a lot. Against Carlton, I thought Phillips was really good for Carlton, and Nick Nat didn't really have that much of a...
At the same time, he nullified the big advantage Sandilands gives our midfield a bit.
That's true.
Because Sandilands, you see at least a couple of times a game, he'll just tap it clean as all heck to Fife. He'll just burst out.
Sandilands is probably the only player only ruckman in the comp you'd just about have Nat Nui on the tap, I think.
Yeah, fair enough. Yeah, that's probably fair.
I mean, Nat Nui will beat him 1 in every 4 probably, but I think...
Because Nick Nat can jump all over him. Sandlands isn't exactly known for his bunnies.
Still finishes like every game with 50 hitouts.
Yeah, he does. Yeah. This is... Nick's probably been the best tap ruckman in the league so far, you'd have to say.
For sure.
He's only attended about half as many centre bounces or ruck contests as anyone. He's playing 50% TOG, time on ground, But I think he's going to ramp that up to about 70 this week, they said.
I think he's possibly the best tap ruckman ever, in my opinion, Nick Nat.
I think it's the impact his hit-outs get. No, not many other rucks will hit it out to Shuey, like, full tilt.
I think most of it comes from the athleticism, so he's really able to be a full 360 ruck.
That's true.
If you look at how high he can jump, how well he can move through the air, he can hit it anywhere on the ground, whereas pretty much every other ruckman is just like a real straight down the throat, and occasionally they'll do like the blind sort of back one, but Naitanui can actually really turn and tap. I
saw a couple of funny ones from Sandy on the weekend where he just smashed it down into the ground.
He does those. Yeah. I quite like them. He does those ones. He occasionally just gives it the smash, but good little surprise one every now and again.
Yeah. Gross.
It's easy for him to do it when he's versing a 19-year-old ruckman for Nick Naitanui, I suppose, as well.
It'll be interesting.
I'd love to see Sandlands really try and use his weight and height against Naitanui. I'd like to see him try and bully Naitanui. Yeah.
Get him back for busting up his lungs.
Yeah, that's it. That's it.
Get him back.
Yeah. Naitanui got him last derby, so I mean, and we've seen Sandy actually caught a few guys holding the ball against the Dogs, and
he's having a great year.
He laid out.
Other than Fife and Walters, he's probably been our best player.
I mean, he always has been our best player the last 10 years. Whenever he's been fit,
feels like he could go again, doesn't it?
I think he's will. I mean, all his attributes are like they're not really athletic based, so he's not going to slow down because of it. If you know what I mean. I mean, he's not getting shorter, is he? So as long as he's as tall as he is, he'll always be half decent.
Yeah.
The question is next year when Sean Darcy's fit and going, which one do you go next year?
I still think play both.
Yeah, I'd like to play both.
You can't not play Sandilands because of how good he is.
Yeah, exactly.
I don't think you can not play Sean Darcy.
Yeah,
exactly. I'm against the not Sean Darcy.
No,
but now he's injured.
I agree, but Sandilands, as good as he is, you just can't.
Yeah.
You can't justify not selecting like the best player, in my opinion.
Yeah, that's true. So with my comments on the Derby, as I said, I'm predicting a real scrap. I think both teams will have a defence. I think it's going to be a shocking game.
When's the last time you saw a really good Derby? Is there any that were really, really good?
I'm sure there have been.
There's been some good
Blues. I think there was a good one in 2003. Fremantle won that, unfortunately. There was a Demolition Derby. Fremantle won that. They're generally not good games.
That was a lot of that was based around the brawls.
Fremantle came from 40 points down.
Yeah.
By 1 point. So, but I didn't see the game.
The quality of football is never that high.
No, it never is.
You just love it for the intensity and the guys going hard at it.
Yeah. I think it's going to be a scrap. I think it's going to be low scoring. I think it's going to be a terrible game. I think Fremantle's home ground advantage will play a factor. 60,000 packed out. 60,000 people packed out.
Yeah, they're tipping the first sellout at Optus.
Yeah, I'm sure it will be,
which will be awesome.
I think
it will be.
I think that will be hard for us. It's our first away. It's pretty hostile in there. I'm sure you've been to a few Dockers games. It'll be interesting being on the other end of that as a touring not a touring team, but I'm still going to go. I'm going to go with my head and my heart and say Eagles. Eagles by a goal. And who's the best on ground? Gaff. Maston's been having a great year.
Yeah.
I know. Eagles by a goal in a terrible game. I think the Eagles have just been slightly better this season.
It's
a body of work. They've just been slightly better.
Yeah. And it is a full moon on Sunday, so I'd tell any Dockers to stay away from Maston. Before he gets his jaws out, the big werewolf.
Yeah, that's good. I think they should give him a club directive just to go biting as many players as he can, just psych him out, cop the 8-week suspension. We don't really need it. So.
We should just play Aptness and get a few of the bigger boys in there to just run them up. I mean,
get big Scotty Jones in there to bait some people up.
Nobody. It's not worth the suspensions or the injuries. But in saying that, it's so much better to watch like a fiery derby than it is to watch a placid derby.
Yeah,
that's true. Yeah. And they'll be evenly matched this time as well, which doesn't happen that often. I feel like the Eagles and Dockers they've kind of like been up and down a little bit.
Well,
we've been both up for a few in like those.
I think so often both clubs lose the game after the derby because they go so hard in the derby. So I think in recent years they've probably thought it's better to just bring it back a little bit and try and. It's just another game of football to a lot of the players, I think, these days, to be honest.
Yeah, it is. I think Fife's talking a bit of a big game. He does that a little bit in the media, doesn't he? I think he's one that gives the media a little bit to work with. He's the exact opposite of Shannon Hearn.
Probably because of the Ross Lyon tutelage.
Yeah, probably. But Fife's like, we're going to stamp our authority on the game, which is, I guess, it's kind of cliche. And I'd like the Eagles to do more of it. It's just that Shannon Hearn's like, you're going to go play a good game of football. He's so hard to listen to. Do you know what I mean? I can't imagine his captain's address being all that like.
The first Alabama player. I can call my ma from up here. Hey ma, get off the damn roof.
Yeah, that's uncanny Shannon Hearn impression.
Yeah. The dude looked like he was 45 when he was 16, let's be honest. He was.
Did.
Yeah.
I think they're investigating that using a fake passport. No, I'm just kidding.
I'll say he's not Von Maker from the NBA.
No, yeah.
That actually happened with Australian
I know.
player
I saw his 2010 graduate book.
Yeah.
But he actually had an alright game.
He's had a good couple of games now that they're actually giving him minutes.
Yeah,
he's basically helped Milwaukee claw back from a 2-0 lead to a 2-2.
Mate, did you see Delhi bloody get the underarm pass?
Oh, mate. They're actually giving Delhi minutes, which is the other reason why they're winning the last couple of games.
Yeah.
But I digress.
Yeah, that fumble really handed the game to the Redskins.
Oh, mate.
Is that football? I think
that's gridiron, mate.
Yeah, it is. Yeah. You know, gridiron is not a sport.
Yeah.
Just a little, like,
it's
busted.
Just a made-up video game called Madden.
No, gridiron... Gridiron is actually apparently the name you call the field. It's got nothing to do with any actual sport.
So it's just American football.
It's just I think it's a bit of a bastardization by Australians and other maybe England as well.
Because we have our own renditions of football.
I was speaking to
we have Australian rules football.
Yeah. I think it was my brother-in-law. He's Canadian. Said that we call it gridiron here, and he's like, "What the hell?" It's like calling cricket pitch ball.
Yeah, but
pitch ball.
We don't really know it though. So
I know, but he was like, "What the hell?" But the amount of Australians that call it gridiron.
I mean, gridiron's NFL is pretty average in my opinion. I've watched a few games, really didn't enjoy it.
I don't mind it.
We should save that for our true NFL podcast.
Yeah, I watched the Super Bowl and
where
I was
we just
like,
trash it.
This is average.
Yeah, fair enough.
Yeah.
Eagles won though, so a bit of a forecast for the AFL season. I think Eagles winning the premiership.
Yeah, Eagles Bombers joint premiership.
There's actually a conspiracy theory. I'm not going to get into it now, but there's a conspiracy theory on I think it's
9/11.
on YouTube how the Eagles won the Super Bowl, and it was like they say that it was rigged and stuff like that.
Oh really?
Yeah, it's on YouTube. I might check it out.
What was the reason?
It's something to do with the coach of the losing team did it to spite someone. I'm kind of butchering it, but I'd rather people go watch it rather than just like take that from what I said.
Tune into the next episode of True Footy Podcast when Jesse will reveal all.
Yeah, when I'm actually going to watch the conspiracy video and then relay what happened.
True Footy Podcast Conspiracies video number 2.
Yeah.
Oh, it could be on soon.
That could happen. That got like 2,000 views. Yeah. So.
I was also going to say I was looking at the odds today because I wanted to see what the Dockers and Eagles were paying for the Derby. But then out of also curiosity, I looked at how much I was paying for a Dockers-Eagles grand final. 201-1. If we get 150 likes on the video, I'll put $20 on it.
Mate, you're just making calls and you're going to pay for them all.
As
the Cyril...
we haven't said that on air yet.
Have we not?
I don't think so.
Okay, Busher made a call earlier this year that if Hawks made the grand final, he would get a tattoo of Cyril Rioli and Bruce McAvaney making out on his ass.
The funny thing is, he was actually going to do that anyway, and then we said, nah, we'll make it interesting. We'll do it only if Hawthorn made the grand final.
Mate. I was recently thinking get him on the big toe so I can do like a toe puppet show and have them like...
Yeah, he's just trying to get one that's half cool, but we will not allow that.
Busher will do the toe thing if we get 15 likes on the new video.
If I get 1 like on my next Facebook post. Daniel Busher liked this. Okay.
It's too unlikely. Yeah. Daniel Busher.
Okay, I'll do it.
Yeah. All right. Well, I think we can wind that up. We may not be able to get a new podcast out for a while. the new Star Wars movie might have come out by the time we do our next one. We'll see. But Woody Harrelson in a Star Wars film, can't imagine how that's going to work out.
Yeah.
A lot of people aren't optimistic about this movie, but I'm optimistic, I think.
I thought the second trailer looked pretty average.
I know a lot of people were kind of pissed that Donald Glover got the role as well.
Yeah, God, that
Why?
guy's such a hack.
Well, I think they feel like the celebrities like overruling the character sort of thing, and Star Wars is traditionally one where they get real non-famous. It's like getting Brad Pitt to play Anakin or something like that.
I guess.
But DiCaprio nearly was Anakin back in the day. I agree with you, and that's my problem with Woody Harrelson being the guy in Star Wars, because it's just you see Woody Harrelson, you don't accept you're in Star Wars. But yeah, that is for our next episode, so we'll talk about that then. Peace out.